Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 100% podcast where you are 100% effed up and still simultaneously 100% lovable. There is nothing that you have done or that has been done to you to ever diminish, not even 1% of how lovable you are and how deserving of good you truly are right now as is. I'm Kaya Garcia, a relationship expert and dating coach. And on this podcast today, I am so blessed and thrilled to have the amazing Joni Woods. She is a certified life coach and also the author of Burned and Blocked and Better Than Ever, which is a raw journey of healing. She is really able to share her knowledge and passion on emotional intelligence and communication to help you better your life. And we are going to have all the links to her book and how you can reach her at the end of the podcast and in the show notes. So let's get started. Welcome, Joni, to the stage. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Really good. I'm so excited to be here. Just so honored. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So let's dive right in. You unfortunately experienced abuse in a relationship. And this podcast is to break the shame, tell the dark truths, tell the lies we told ourselves to keep us stuck. So if you can go back into a time where you're like, holy shit, how is this my life? Maybe what were the signs you saw in the beginning, but something where we can dive right in to have the listeners A, want to listen, and B, actually feel the power that maybe they can transform to. So let's just start with one story where you realized something was actually more wrong than you were giving credit to.
Yeah, the story that pops in my head right away was we were in our first year of marriage. We had maybe not even 6 months in, and we fought. Our fights were very large, explosive, very big. He was very narcissistic, couldn't accept responsibility. Everything was my fault. And it just was exploding, exploding, exploding. And I'm sitting on the bed. And what makes our situation so weird was we were youth and young adult pastors. So it's all the religion to go with it. And so I'm sitting on the bed just so angry that we're in this fight, that he's not listening to me. And it's a situation after situation. And he grabs a Bible and he starts taking the Bible and he's pushing it in front of me. And I am looking at him and he is trying to cast out a demon in my life. Literally, we are having an argument. This isn't a demon that's happening in my life right now. I'm pissed off. I'm mad. You're not listening to me. This is an argument. I'm not being possessed. And he literally just starts trying to cast out a demon in my life. And I'm sitting there going, I cannot believe that this is happening to me right now. And he, to the point where he was taking the Bible and he would hit me with it, like just hit me. And then I'd back away and he's like, see, it's the demon inside of you. Can't even be near the word of God. And I was just like, wow. And it, he did it so well that I honestly thought maybe I am possessed. He was able to flip that script to the point where I no longer felt validated in being angry. And suddenly I was like, because that was our greatest fear, youth and young adult pastors. You don't want to give in to sin. You don't want to be possessed. You don't want to go to hell. All of these things. You don't want to have a bigger influence. If you're giving in to anger, if you're giving in to all of this stuff, it diminishes your impact in the world. And I mean, there's just so much responsibility. And he flipped the script and made me feel like I was a demon possessed woman and I needed to submit. And through that, I shut down. I just stopped and I was like, okay, maybe there is something really wrong with me. Maybe I am this terrible person. And it reinforced his ability to manipulate me and to keep me in control. And so that was a tactic he used all the time. I was a terrible pastor. I was a terrible Christian. I was a terrible mother. I was a terrible, terrible, terrible. And he would manipulate all of that into I needed to change. I needed to get rid of all of this sin in my life. And when I would, then I would be what he deserved. So because of that religious part of it, he manipulated sex, he manipulated my role, he manipulated the money, he manipulated all of it because I was supposed to be a submissive Christian. And if I wasn't, if I was aggressive, then I was in sin. And that that stuck with me for a really long time. That is probably what kept me the biggest prisoner in my marriage for 15 years because it started 6 months in and I couldn't get out of it. And it was only reinforced by, churches, by sermons. And I don't think it's intentional. I think he was just able to manipulate it in a way that kept me prisoner much longer than I should have been.
I mean, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. It's always so interesting how the man finds a way to do a few things. One, the narcissist confuses the woman. Two, makes her feel like she's a bad person and that she needs to be better to be deserving of love. And three, use a form of control to be the dominant leader or controller of the family or of the marriage in a way where he's not leading with love. He's demanding, criticizing, demeaning. And this is also not the first time that I've heard that they use their church or religion as a way to say, look, you're so fucked up. Like, you don't even understand how bad you are. And your soul is so messy and gross. Like, you don't even get the fact that you don't even deserve to be with me. Like, and it basically takes the small inner child that you have and that women have and we all have and just make her so confused and scared that she doesn't know what to do because confusion creates inaction. Like, if you're confused, you don't do. Only with clarity and action can clarity breeds action and action breeds clarity. So, what was one of the signs that you can maybe see now that he used that you saw during the dating process? Do you have any memory of when you dated, what he did, and how you're like, "Holy shit," 15 years later?
Yeah. It's actually in my book that's part of like the first 3 chapters because it all started in childhood. My father started it and recognizing the patterns. But what my ex-husband did in dating was so we were a part of a program called Master's Commission. It was a 9-month intensive program kind of modeled after the Mormon faith where you would go in and dedicate 9 to 10 months to the church. And so you would do this is basically free volunteers that paid to be a part of this program. And so we would go in, and the first year is you're supposed to be single. You don't date. And I loved that. That was amazing for me. I was a high school flirt. And so wearing this chameleon of everyone's got to like me. So I flirt when I didn't have to attract someone. I was like, cool, this is great. I love it. But the second year, it was like open season on dating. Everyone wanted to partner up. They were finding their future husband. It's like Bible college, you're told you need to go find a good pastors so you can be a good pastor's wife. And so it started, and I had come back to town, and we were preparing for our new first year students to come in. And he just randomly bumped into me one morning and was asking me, like, are you interested in anyone? And I was kind of like, I had no poker face, but I was like, yeah. And so he started naming off different men in the program. He was like, well, what about so and so? And I was like, and then so and so and so and so. And he kind of hit the one that I was like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in talking to him. And he could see it on my face because I don't have a poker face. And he was like, oh, so him. And I was like, I don't know. And he looked at me, and I remember it clear as day. He was like, he'll never date you. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, yeah, no, he'll never date you. And it ripped down to my core that I wasn't good enough.
Yes.
Like hadn't even had a conversation with this man in my entire life. And you are looking at me telling I'm not good enough for someone else. Who are you? But it hurt enough where he managed to flip the script. And like, I walked out of there going, well, that really sucked to hear, but I wasn't mad at him. It was like he was doing me a service. He was informing me that, hey, don't put yourself out there. And so I wasn't necessarily mad at him. He just made me feel worse about myself. And it was those little things that he kept doing. And before we even dated, this program, we put on a big giant haunted house, and it was like had all the normal scares and everything like that. But then towards the end, it was a salvation message. And we were in charge of putting it together, and me and I was a makeup artist and he was in charge of tech. And me and the makeup artist, we did something so small. We like overspent on something, but we got in really big trouble for it. And he, at that moment, found the chink in my armor because all I wanted was to be liked. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be. And when we got in trouble, he came in and he was just so somber. And he's like, yeah, I heard about everything. He's like, they were wanting to kick you out. We overspent by $5, but in my mind, it was so big. It was this huge issue. And my other makeup artist, she just paid the bill and she was like, fine, here's $10 to cover her and I's thing. But I took it really personally, and he latched onto that. He saw it as an opportunity, and he was just like, yeah, they're just so mad at you. They want to kick you out of the program. You're going to have to go home, like you're really going to have to rebuild all their trust. And then he was like, but I got your back. I took care of it for you. I'm really in with them. The staff really loves me, but I made sure I vouched for you. And suddenly I was in his debt. And that was the beginning of the end. Because then, he made me feel obligated to him.
I love that. And I want the listeners to hear the subtleness. One of the things that I find so fascinating about people who abuse women is that it's so very subtle in the beginning, unless you're an educated leader, which is what this podcast is for, to tell women, look, here are the stories. They're all the same with different details. And the fact that he broke your self-worth down, saying, you're bad, you made a mistake. How could you have done that? What's wrong with you? Who do you think you are? And take all of your mistakes, which are so part of life, and then use them against you to make you feel like you're a little less lovable. You're not 100% lovable anymore. Now you've just dropped down at 50. Like, you fucked up so bad there. Like, you're about 50 right now, 50%, and you got to work back up. And I will help you, and I will be your saver, and I've got you. And don't worry, like, I'm going to pay for that. I'll take care of that. I'll schedule this for you. And so the dominance is literally positioned in a way of, I'm going to be the one that will save you from the misery you deserve. But they can only do that after they make you feel miserable.
Exactly. That was exactly it.
So how do you feel now that you're out of the marriage? Looking back, what are the things you wish you would have told yourself if someone said to you, he'll never want you, you're not good enough?
I think for me, I would have, what helped me get out of the marriage was we were married for 15 years, and we spent 8 of them in counseling. Again, because we were fighting. It was so bad. The first time he threw a punch at me, he shattered the sliding glass door behind me. And that's when they were like, all right, well, we know this counselor who works specifically with pastors because, the tension of pastoring and having this image and blah, 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 blah. So we went, and of course, everything was my fault, and we're going to get counseling for Joni, and we're going to make sure Joni's good and she's dealt with her family. And I think what the big thing for me in over the entire span of my life, and even in writing the book, was just recognizing how much my childhood affected that. And it's not to say that I couldn't look back at myself when I was 20 years old, right before I was supposed to get married, and say, you deserve better than what you're about to get. Because to be honest, someone said that to me a week before, and it's in the book too. Someone looked at me because he wasn't helping with the wedding. We were still fighting. There's just like all of these it was the perfect storm for me to make a terrible choice. And my friend had the courage, I thank her. She looked at me and she said, it was 1 week out, and she's like, "You know you don't have to marry him." And it was that moment where I was like, "You're right, but what else do I have?" Like, he had so burned that in, but also my entire life had been burned in. My family had abandoned me because I went back to this program. So life in and of itself told me that I wasn't strong enough to do it on my own. And I think, so I guess to be fair, what I would say to myself if I could go back would be, you are strong enough to do it on your own. Because 15 years later, I did. But I didn't know that. And it wouldn't be that I would say, well, you deserve better, because I did, obviously. It was more, you can do it without him, without your parents, without anything, because it felt like I had nothing because I didn't have a family. I only had him, but he came with so many requests, restrictions, expectations, I don't know,
Demands.
whatever word that is. Requirements. He came with so many requirements of who I needed to be. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess it's him or nothing. And I think if there was something I could say to my younger self, it would be, you can do it, and you'll find yourself in 20, 30 years doing it.
I mean, it's so powerful for you to realize your power lies inside of you and not inside of a man or a relationship or a marriage. And as someone who is in a phenomenal marriage, thank God, because I did the work before I got married, which I encourage every woman to do powerful healing work before they get into relationships. Um, I still know that my love and my power comes from me, not from his love for me. And it's, like, important for women to hear this because somehow society or your father or your childhood says, "You know what? You're really not that strong. Actually, you're really not capable of doing shit on your own, and you should probably seek help, or you should go to therapy." Remember my dad always saying to me, "You really need therapy." And now that I think about it, any father who says that to a child, they need therapy. You know what I'm trying to say? So for you, it's like you experience this feeling of, I probably shouldn't go through with this, but I don't even know who I am or have enough support to release it. And so for all the listeners, build a life up besides your man. If you have one man or thinking about having one man or are married and trying to get out of it, if you're isolated where he's your center of the world or the main part of the world, you need a support system and a new environment to kind of latch onto to give you that awareness that your love comes from inside of you, not from a man choosing you.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I had spent my entire life looking for unconditional love. That's been because I was told from a young age that as soon as accept salvation, you get this unconditional love. But I never felt it. Like, I was like, this doesn't feel like love. This feels like requirements and expectations." And I think the only time I ever actually found it was after the divorce. After I left, I was like, oh, this is what love looks like, because I'm loving myself first. If I can't reach your expectations, then I'm at least going to be who I want to be and love myself for it. And I think that that was the pivotal point, the way for me to get out of everything, and the way for me to just set healthier boundaries moving forward and learning how to date again. Because it was like, all right, I'm not going to show up the way that you want me to show up. So I'm going to show up as me. And if you don't love me for me, then I love me for me. And I'm going to stop bending to what you're looking for.
I think that's a great word that you use, bending. So many women, and I feel like there's, of course, men listening, so many people feel like they need to be flexible for love. "Oh, you don't want me to go to yoga class anymore? Fine. I don't need it. Like it was a nice thing that I enjoy, but I don't need it. Oh, you don't want me to go out. You don't want me to do this. Like it's okay. It's okay." It's like we feel like if we want to have that love, we need to be flexible, to bend, to be compromising so that we can like make the most. Like we don't want to be selfish, but real love, true love is unconditional. And it means you can fuck up and make mistakes and have different schedules and have variety and lash out. And their love will never be withdrawn from you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very powerful thing to want and to know what you're looking for. You're not looking for someone to compromise with your whole life and lose yourself, but to truly know that if you can love yourself with your flaws and your screw ups and still believe you're 100% lovable every time you make a mistake, like your lovability doesn't diminish just because you screwed up, that's also what you can have in a marriage.
Yeah. Well, and for me, even now, like I try to live the most authentic life, and sometimes I fuck up, and sometimes but that doesn't diminish my self-worth. I think that that's too because that's what he did. You know, it wasn't just that he wasn't gonna love me anymore or that I wasn't deserving of his love. It was that I was the worst person in the entire world, you know, and that even in our divorce, he would tell the kids that, you know, he would tell them, "I don't know who your mom is. She's going straight to hell. She's just this terrible person. She's completely changed." And I was like, "Yeah, like that's the whole point. I've been wanting to change." And so even when I have things that happen now in my life or reactions, I have to remind myself that it doesn't change who I am and who I try to be. I try to be someone that's full of love and kindness. And yeah, sometimes I snap off because he pissed me off, but it doesn't mean that I'm no longer able to say that that's the kind of person I want to be.
Love that because there's two things. Your worth doesn't diminish when you screw up, 100%, right? And the other thing is I was about to say something, I just forgot it. But anger. How many women attract addicts and narcissists because they don't know how to feel and allow their anger?
Yeah. Yeah. I have in my book, so I talk about different dating relationships, and there's one man in there who he's now like my best friend. We don't date. But we have seen a lot with each other. And he was the one that just he had a lot of patience. And unfortunately I took out a lot of anger on him. But I mean, in my marriage, I was constantly suppressing it. And when I started dating, I still had this idea of like, well, I need to make sure I've got my best foot forward. And this friend, his name's Jason, we just automatically clicked. Like we talked about movies. He's a director. And so we just had a lot of fun talking about movies, but he's very like snarky and sarcastic. And that was the way my ex-husband was. And so I would always like, no, you don't get to that. I'm not okay with that. And so we would fight, but not, he would be more submissive in the fighting and I would go off the rails. Like there was one time he had come over to hang out and I just got so pissed I threw all of his stuff outside. But I had never done that before. I had never given in to that absolute rage and it felt fantastic. Now, I don't do it anymore, but to finally understand what that means to really let it out was huge for me. And then I was like, okay, so there is this giant volcano inside of me because, you know, at the beginning of the marriage, yeah, we fought, my ex-husband and I would fight, but then he'd tell me I had a demon inside of me. So, you know, like once I was finally like, okay, no, this is actually natural. These are real feelings that I'm feeling. Once I was able to release those, I was like, oh, okay. So now we need to figure out how to do it in a healthy way. But for the first couple of times, and you know, thank God he's still my best friend now. But we can laugh about those things, but they were crucial for me to figure out, you know, how to rage and how to do it with someone who is safe enough to handle it and not like with my kids or, you know, that kind of stuff where I would do permanent damage, but rather someone that was like, she's really feeling it. And I understand what she's going through and I'm going to, you know, not allow it to happen to me all the time, but recognize that she's working through it. And that's what he did. And it really helped me learn how to process my anger. So when I get ragey now, I just write. Like I just write. So I'm not spewing, but getting rid of it. And that has been a game changer for me, 100%.
Yeah, writing is one of the key ways that women get some clarity, that you can get clarity on the abuse, on your feelings, on how to process things. And I think it's like this really repeatable pattern that I've seen women be able to like overcome their trauma through is like finally journaling. Because when you're in an abusive relationship, or you don't think you're in an abusive relationship, but there's abuse in it, no, it's fine. We're okay. We just need counseling, more counseling. He said he'll change. And like, no, you're just wasting your whole life away with your bullshit.
Yeah.
But the journaling is one of the things that I've seen women who are like finally ready to get out start doing. Like, I actually need to hear me now. Like, I actually want to hear my voice. I actually don't want to suppress my feelings anymore. And so the fact that you're able to write when you rage, it's such a healthy outlet. It's so healthy.
Yeah. And it's just when you read those words back, that's huge. You have to read those words back. I sometimes when I have a blog and I have the book and I reread these words and I was like, whew, all right, well, there's some learning. And you still keep learning from it, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and another thing that's really, really helpful to do, whether you're in an abusive relationship or not, or you think you are, or you just don't want to get into another one, wherever you are at in life, get your phone out. And WhatsApp is an app. WhatsApp is a way to, or you can just use your camera video. So you can actually message yourself. And so pull out your phone like this, and you record yourself making a video journal of you. Because if you were like date number one when he, or not even date number one, when he was like, you're not good enough for him, like he would never date you. And you pulled out your phone and you're like, asshole just you would call him an asshole. Guy just said that like I wouldn't be good enough. I'm like, that really hurts my feelings. And like I really feel sad right now, whatever. I mean, you're just talking about your feelings. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, who says that to someone who just goes and then you like end it, right? You just process your feelings a good 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and you put your phone away. In a month from now, when you're just scrolling through your phone, God has a way of figuring shit out if you provide the evidence. You see it. You're like, oh my God, like he made me feel so sad. Like, oh my God, I'm crying.
Yeah.
You really can't see your pain until you put it out of your body in a video on your paper.
Hmm. Yeah. I think what I wish I had known better back then, and hopefully what I hope people recognize now is I still have the journals probably somewhere. Probably what I ended up doing after he said that to me was going and journaling and then asking God to make me a better woman. Whereas instead of recognizing that someone made me feel bad, that I leaned into it and I assumed it was me. And I don't think that happens now. I think we are so much more self-aware and we're having a lot, obviously, more conversations about this, where we can go, okay, it's not about who you're supposed to be, it's who you are, and embrace that and love that person and grow in your own ways without someone telling you where you're short, where you come in, your shortcomings and your failures. I wish that that was something I would have been able to recognize. But I think I love the fact that these conversations are happening, that it really saves people that inner turmoil from believing it. Hopefully.
Yeah, 100%. Because if we believe it, that we're not good or we're not deserving, then that is what we attract, everyone. That is what we attract. I know I'm looking at this camera now, just work with me.
Okay.
Um, so that's why this podcast is so important, because the 100% podcast is you are 100% fucked up. Don't even try to pretend you're good. Don't even try to pretend I've got all my shit together. I'm good. How are you feeling? I'm great. I'm really sad about something, but it's also really great that I have a job. My boss beats the shit out of me with her words and I'm so unhappy, but I'm so grateful I have a paycheck. How many homeless people are there? Right? No, you're fucked up. Feel your pain. Stop minimizing your pain. Stop making the bad shit better and actually acknowledge the things that are stressing you out or draining your energy. And simultaneously, you're 100% lovable. And still, you are deserving of love right now as is. Like, you don't have to quit your job or leave the relationship or lose 5 pounds or get your stability or finish that thing you need to finish to finally be deserving and ready. Like, you are 100% lovable. And so for you, it's like your journey, it was realizing that first you never felt enough and you needed someone else to say you're good. And then you realize, actually, I can say I'm.
Yeah. I probably hit that point. That point to me happened in our last therapy session with our counselor. It was we had been doing a lot of me ones, and she was like, "You're doing really well." And so she's like, "Let's go ahead and have you guys come in together." And we came in together, and 15 years of this marriage, 8 years in counseling, he still wouldn't do the basic things that I needed in a relationship. I'm a words of affirmation person. I was a stay-at-home mom. I need to feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, that you appreciate, that you love me, and fill me in a way that works with me. Words of affirmation. Tell me I'm good. He wouldn't. He refused to. He refused to tell me anything good about myself. And so we're in this counseling session, and he just looks at her and he says, 100% of our issues are Johnny's fault. And my therapist was like, 100%? It's like, yeah, 100%. She's like, really? 100? And he said, okay, well, like 99.9. And she just was like, okay. And she ended up emailing me and just telling me, I don't think I can help him anymore. And that was so eye opening. That was finally the point where it was like, wow, this is so not me. you know, like he spent so much time telling me, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And she looked at him at one point and was like, why can't you tell your wife that she does a good job keeping the house together, raising your kids, anything like that? And he was like, well, because that's her job. Why would I tell her she's doing good at something she's supposed to be doing? And she was like, because you love her. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to tell her that. And I was just like sitting there going, wow, you are not willing to even love me in the smallest ways that I need to be loved. And so all of that culmination, I was just like, this is not me. Sometimes like I would always be like, is this me? I still do that now. I'm like, did I do something wrong? Is this on me? But at that moment I was like, no. How do you show up for someone who's not even willing to admit any fault in a terrible marriage? And that to me was like, okay, this isn't me, and I deserve better, and I deserve to be loved, because I'm not the fuck up here. I'm not.
Yeah, not only are you not the fuck up, you were the innocent one who allowed the abuse. You didn't create the abuse, but you allowed it. And there's a really big responsibility that we have to take as humans, that they didn't hit us over and over and over again. We allowed it. And it's not to make us bad or feel sad. It's just like, oh, I actually have a lot more power than I'm giving myself credit. It's like, no, he didn't destroy the marriage. I attracted someone who destroyed me because I didn't know how to believe I was good. And so I needed someone else to tell me that. And only a sick motherfucker would tell me, you're good, you're bad, you deserve it. Now you don't. Right. So when women, when you, like, when people don't believe that they are 100% lovable, however low lovability they feel they are, that's how much abuse they'll allow. Because only a dominant and controlling person will love the job of saying, oh, you need me? Guess what that means? I have the power. And only a sick motherfucker who needs a shit ton of power and dominance because they don't know how to survive in this world without weird spikes in their self esteem through power control and trips would want a woman who, you know, who they can control like that. And so for the women listening and men, you need to believe that you are 100% lovable and you don't want someone who's going to need you. It's not attractive. Oh, but he needs me. I can help him heal. I can love him the way his mother never did. Oh, but he has such a hard childhood. His dad was an alcoholic, and then, or his brother committed suicide. And, he's just been through so much. I don't want to add to that. Like, no, you're not here to fix or change.
Yeah.
I needed to learn, like, my job is actually not here to fix or change anyone, only to keep my focus on myself.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that you include men in there, because once I got out of my marriage and started dating, I was like, wow, there are some men who are really fucked up out there. But because of the relationships that they were in too, like just seeing how manipulative people can be when they want something, when they want control over a person, the lengths that they'll go to is just unreal to me. I
Crazy.
feel for everyone. I had seen it there in the book, there's a story of one of my coworkers because I worked at a hospital and I would be the 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. person. And so I was kind of known as the floor therapist. They'd all come talk to me. And I called him my work husband. The stories that he would tell me and show me the text messages from his wife, I was just like, dude, we need to get you out of this situation. Like the roller coaster, the trauma bonds,
Yeah.
the gaslighting, all of that's happening, the financial abuse that you are enduring, working 60, 70 hours a week to supplement her need to abuse your money. Like just all of it. I was just in shock, 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 shock. The lengths that people go to manipulate others. And I mean, yeah, it happens on both, men and women, but that that grossness that like, how do you do that to someone?
I feel like it's an addiction, truly. And you know how an addiction, you're like, I'm just gonna have one shot of espresso today. I just need a little lift, right? And then like, a year later, you're having like two full cups a day. On a hard day, you have three, and it's like it didn't start there. It didn't start there. You're like, you didn't even fucking like coffee in the beginning. Now you're drinking like two full cups a day and one when you're really on a it's like, how? Addiction is something that increases in destruction. Right? So if you get a little boost of a high because you got to control someone and you feel like, oh, this feels so good, you do it more and more and more, and you need that high. And like people who are narcissists and addicts and these people who abuse, they often have porn addictions where they're literally infusing their mind and their internal world with rape and physical and sexual abuse so frequently that they have a true distortion of reality, and they see men and women being abused and allowing it, and they're also getting physiological arouses. So they become addicted to power, control, dominance, and distortion. I think distortion is a great word for addiction, in combination with it. So for men and women, one, you need to be careful with what you're allowing in your life and in your mind with everything, not just pornography, but also horror movies. Like you don't need to see darkness. Like there's enough crazy normal shit in the world. You don't need to add it to your mind intentionally and voluntarily. And what we're talking about with this man who allowed the financial abuse, a lot of women actually abuse men that way, where he will work hard and she will spend all of his money, always creating this feeling like he's not enough. But the cycles of abuse do get crazier because they need that rise. It's an addiction. It gets worse. It doesn't get better. And so, I mean, I'm glad you had a counselor who helped you out, but I wish she could have given him like a narc test on like year number one, because if she would have seen that he wasn't taking any responsibility then, it probably would have shortened the duration of therapy. Why did it
Uh,
take 8 years? I can tell on date number one, like legitimately, how did it take 8 years for her to be like, yep, he's not fucking changing?
well, the
No
8 years.
disrespect, I'm curious.
No, no, no. Yeah, no, the 8 years wasn't entirely us all together. So, like, we did probably 1 year where it was just us, and then he insisted that I get therapy for all of my childhood stuff. And so then that was all the cycles that started happening. And we would go periods where, 6 months I didn't go see her, but then I was like, I really need to see you. And then we'd go back in. And yeah, so, but he insisted that I was the problem. And thankfully, I am glad that we did so much work on my childhood to get to where I am today, healing my grief, my loss, both my parents have passed, and those relationships were absolutely terrible at one point or another. We were able to mend here and there. So I got a lot of tools from it. But yeah, towards the end when it was just so like year 1 and 2 probably were him and I there, and then the big in the middle was almost always me. It was always like, you need to go see her. You need to go work on you." I was like, "All right." And I would, he'd come in here and there, but then towards the end, yeah, it got bad. But I mean, he was an alcoholic at the end. She tried to help with we tried to do an intervention with his family, and yeah, he totally flipped the script on that too. It was just narcissistic behavior.
They're so good at it. They're so tactical. It's almost phenomenal.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
So he had addiction where he was doing that? Was he drinking or smoking or watching porn or any form of, like, addiction when you first met him?
So it's funny because as I look back at his life, addicts are addicts everywhere, and he was
100%.
a workaholic.
Got it.
He was a workaholic, 100%, and he justified it because it was the church, like, "I'm just giving all my time to God, and, we're gonna just work our bones be for the church, for greatness." But, we continued to be let go from various churches because they couldn't stand his behavior. Like, he was just a lightning rod for conflict. And so the last place that we got let go, it was a volunteer position. We weren't even getting paid. And they were like, "Yeah, we don't need you anymore." And so that's when the workaholism turned into alcoholism. And him and his best friend, they would go out and have, guys night, and he'd get pissed drunk before he even went. He'd like chug a whole thing, and I was just like, this is just getting worse. And then when he started a regular job, he started working for FedEx. He couldn't be a workaholic. Like, you have a set hours. And then so with all of his downtime, then he just started drinking more. And then he got an injury at FedEx while he was doing it. So then he started popping pills, and then he was mixing the pills and so the only person I let know that was going on was my sister-in-law. I told her, I was like, there was one day I couldn't even wake him up. Like, he was just out. And at this point, I had told him he needed to move in the basement because he was snoring so loud because he'd get, so drunk, you can't move him. And so he'd go sleep downstairs. I could still hear him through the floor. That's how loud he'd snore. And so just continued to just drop little nuggets of stuff. But he got so bad when we went to do the intervention. Um, I had saved his bottles for 3 weeks, so 21 days. I had saved all of his vodka bottles, and there were 20. So for 21 days, there were 20 bottles. And he had broken into my email because I was still talking to my counselor. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to take care of this man and his addiction. And thankfully, not thankfully, but things just work the way that they work. My mother, I had almost lost my mother to her alcoholism. And once, she was near death, we got her back. Her liver was pretty much toast. She became a whole different person. She needed like 100% care from my stepfather. And to the point where I tried to bring her down to visit us, and I had to have medications. I had to have all of this just to keep her alive. And I'm looking at her going, this isn't who I want in my marriage in 10 years. Someone who's drank themselves so terribly that now I'm making sure you're going to the bathroom. I'm making sure you're taking your right pills. I'm making sure there's nothing in here that you can drink to get your high. And so we prepared an intervention, and he broke into my email, saw that I was talking to my therapist about it. So I just gathered up the bottles, and I drove around to his entire family, opened up the trunk, and I said, this is what I'm dealing with. This is the problem in my life right now, and I can't do it anymore. So you guys need to be in on this. And they were shocked. They had no idea, obviously. And so I was like, I'll give you a second. And so we tried to have an intervention that day, and he stormed out of the house, and everything. That was the beginning of the end. That was when I started divorce, like really just going, okay, we're getting a divorce within the next 6 months. We're done. And we were.
I mean, there's two things I wanna ask before we close out this beautiful, amazing session and episode. One is, what were the lies you told yourself to stay in relation to your children? So many times, mommies and daddies see the pain on their kids from the unhealthy partner, but they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to stop it, and they don't feel strong enough to leave yet. So they tell themselves these lies as to why it's okay to stay longer. What were some of those lies for you?
Some of those lies were all about responsibility in making sure we didn't raise them in a broken home. Um, they were also reinforced by him, but the lies were, he'll get better as the kids get older. He'll see more responsibility. He'll become a better father. Like just all of these things, like all we needed was just a little bit more time, just a little bit more time. And it would turn into everything that he promised it would, but it just never did. He made all those promises and I was like, okay, just a little more time and it's going to work. Um, and it just never worked. It only got worse.
I think that time one is something really powerful to touch on for a few minutes. When I was dating an addict, so my story is that I used to attract very unhealthy men. And then I changed my entire life and did a lot of work and became an expert and have 2 degrees. And now I'm in a phenomenal marriage. And now I share this knowledge, work, and expertise with women all over the world. So when I was with the addict ex that I speak about a lot in regards to the story of transformation, I used to always say, but at some point he'll change, right? Like at some point he'll just want to stop doing the drugs. Like at some point he'll be like, this isn't working and then everything will be better. And this time thing that I hear through my clients, through the stories, it's like something about just saying it's going to change soon
Mhm.
in a time frame. Like this can't go on forever. Eventually he'll change, maybe soon, maybe this when New York, whatever, some stupid time frame is like one of the most common things I hear. And also in regards to I don't want a broken home, even though your fucking home is broken, dude. It's broken. You want a healthy home, get the fuck out. Like you don't want a broken home, get the broken person out of it. Okay, sorry. Keep going in regards to the time that you thought you just needed to give him more time, but the time never, ever came.
Yeah. No, and, what you said right there was that was how I was able to make the steps, and what I anchored into as I started the divorce process. I told my kids, and my son particularly, because he was a little bit more older and could understand, I said, "I want you to have 2 happy homes, because right now you don't. 2 happy homes, he'll be happy on his own, I'm happy on my own, and you will know happiness because of that. Right now you don't. You know misery. And I wouldn't want this marriage for you. Like if I knew that you were going through this, we'd be getting you the fuck out of it. Like that's And why am I staying in something that I wouldn't allow my children to go through was the biggest question for me. That was we're setting the worst example. All I'm doing is letting and showing them what I allowed would be okay. No, I'd be coming in mama hot. And so those were the biggest catalysts for me and what I anchored down in. So whenever anyone criticized, and I got lots of criticism for it, was why are you doing this? Why are you tearing the family apart? God's not going to love you. God hates divorce. And, like all of this kind of stuff. You're never going to make an impact. You're going to be poor and all of it, all of it. I heard all of it. But I didn't care. Because I didn't care. I was like, nope, we're going to have 2 happy homes. I don't care. You can be poor and happy. Trust me, I'm poor and happy. You can be poor and happy, but I don't want to be rich and miserable. And I don't want my kids to allow this in their life because I wouldn't if I found out. And so I anchored and I anchored and I anchored on those things that helped me get out.
I love that word anchor. I think every person needs an anchor, needs their why, needs that voice of reason and truth and love that takes them into their place of clarity and health despite everyone else's shitty voices. Even as a relationship expert, so many dating coaches and matchmakers tell women, like, just give him another chance. You don't want to be alone anymore. Don't be so picky. And I'm like, dude, if you don't fucking have an anchor, like, you don't want to be divorced, you don't want to deal with custody battles, getting married isn't the big thing, staying married. If you don't have an anchor, like what you were just saying, so many people will try to tell you literally horrible advice. And everyone will fucking tell you horrible advice. And it's like almost insane how much bad advice there is and how everyone will try to keep you where you're at instead of growing to where you need to become because they're so afraid of change because they haven't done it in their own lives. And God is so 100% loving and he doesn't want you to suffer. He's fine with divorce. You know why? Because he didn't create you and your glory created in the image of God to suffer. That's not he created you to create like him or her, however you perceive the energy of God.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who he's in a miserable, abusive marriage, and he went to therapy, and the therapist was like, "Well, you've actually got a really good life. You've got your success. And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" They said,
Right?
"What to you?" That person should lose their license.
I agree with Matt a lot of times. They just ignorant. They ignorant, yo. You know, I have 10 years of academia and psychology and 2 different psychological degrees. They don't fucking teach you shit about the signs of narcissism and addiction. I had to become self-taught personal expert on the vast ways that narcissism and addiction show up during the dating process to save the women that I save and change my life. They don't teach you shit about it. So when I hear these PhD people, I was like, I was there, bro. Like, y'all don't fucking impress me with your PhD society, your LMSW, because I did it. I mean, I didn't finish my PhD, but like I was in that same system. I learned the same stuff. I did finish my master's. And it's like, y'all, they don't fucking teach you shit. They teach you like theories of like what Jung said. And you're like, that doesn't help with nothing when you're learning how to get out of abuse.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just wish people knew that they were strong enough. I think, every time as I've been doing the podcast about the book, just know you're strong enough. You really are. That inner strength. I've gone through everything. I've gone through the abuse with my family, the abuse of the church, the abuse of my ex-husband, moving out, sleeping in my car, buying my own home. My ex-husband passed away in August of 2020. So even rebuilding from that, becoming a full-time parent, what does that look like? Moving my kids 400 miles to a new place to restart. We restarted, and then our home burned down in May of 2023. And it's just like restart. So every time I feel like I can't do it, I'm like, no, I can. I can. I remember just the sitting in the hospital after the fire going, what am I going to do? And instead of getting really depressed, I was like, I'm just going to do one thing at a time. Like literally, that's all you can do when life just shifts in such an enormous cataclysmic way. Restarting is just one step at a time and knowing that you can. I didn't lay there in the hospital going, I can't do this. I was like, all right, one step at a time. I've done this. I've done this. I've rebuilt and I'm going to do it again. And I did. It sucks. Hate it. But you have the strength. The strength comes out. You just, yeah.
No, I love that. Like, what's my next best step? I think that's a really great thing people can think in crises or confusion. What's my next best step? And that you are strong. So, Johnny, you have been so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your very powerful story of how if we don't believe that we're lovable and we want our love to come from other people and have other people like us and approve of us, we will attract someone who will be like, I will tell you when you're lovable. And those are the very unhealthy people in the world. To transform your awareness that, you know what, God is good, God is loving, God allows me to not suffer. He doesn't want me to, He didn't create me in this gorgeous world to like half live. And so you chose yourself and you chose your hard. It's hard to be in an abusive marriage and it's hard to get out of one, but at least one gives you a life instead of solely suffering. So, Johnny, where can people find you? Where can they get your book? How can they access your amazing stories and healing?
I have my own website, jonywoods.com. I'm slowly rebuilding my social media, so you can find me author Joni Woods on Instagram. I still am on TikTok and YouTube, so you can find me there, Joni Woods. And my book is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, Ingram Spark. You can find it anywhere. Hopefully.
And say the name of your book again, because it's a phenomenal title.
Yeah, Burned, Blocked, and Better Than Ever.
Can you describe the title for like 30 seconds, why you named it that?
Well, to be fair, it started out as surviving divorce, dating, and dick pics. And I was just once I really started to get into the meat of it and really dig down into who I am today and how I got there, it was recognizing that there was just so much trauma that really, because I think my spirit animal is a phoenix, like just keep rising from the ashes time and time again. And that's where it all came from. There's actually the cover of it is a little phoenix.
I love it.
And so, you're burned time and time again. There's roadblocks, things just get in your way, and you have the strength to keep going. And when you do, you get to the other side, and it's just so much better than you ever imagined.
So
So,
true. So if anyone is in an abusive relationship, if anybody wants help to get out of an abusive relationship, or if you're single and you want to make sure you never get into one, you can find me as a relationship expert at Chaya, at Epic Love Expert. So many different ways to contact me and to think about the right one. Um, but definitely send me a DM. This is an amazing thing. Johnny has a book that can really help you feel and see your own story, and she's an amazing certified life coach who can help you with your communication. And I specifically work with single women who are looking for that next best relationship, which really means you get so close and clear with yourself. So you guys have been amazing, all the audience. Johnny, you are such a gem. And guys, this has been another powerful episode of the 100% podcast where you are 100% fucked up, but still simultaneously 100% lovable. And nothing that anyone has done to you or that you have done diminishes how truly lovable and deserving of love and only healthy, good love you are right now. So I'm Chaya Garcia, Epic Love Expert. So amazing having you guys here, and I'll see you on the next episode.